Speedway Pulse Media is partnered with Paley Motorsports.
That's right. We're an official marketing agent of Sam Paley and Paley Motorsports. If you're looking to get on a super fast race car and win some races this year and get your name set in victory lane, join. Reach out to us. We can get you in touch with Sam. Why wait? Reach the millions through motorsports with Paley Motorsports today.
No better way to get involved. And, we're coming up on a 1 year anniversary of Sam taking part at Le Mans and us being on the car, the only American to sweep the podium 2 second places on the same weekend. Wow,
That's
there's
right.
no better opportunity.
That's right. Let's hop right into it. Interview 44 today. A really huge pathway. I don't really want to say it'd be a pathway to just being able to talk to his dad, but just being able to talk to him alone is great. We have Jackson Bell coming on. Obviously,
Yeah.
his dad's had so much success. He's had so much success already. Is with a great team with Copeland Motorsports, has a
Oh,
great co-driver in
yeah,
Ford Koch, and then last weekend Jeremy Fletcher, who's been a very loyal guy to our channel here at Speedway Pulse Media and everything. So it's an honor to be able to have him on today and
absolutely.
get to talk a little bit about what you're going to hear from us is a little bit about his NPC stuff, and then we even went back and did a little bit of research. He's done some stuff with Chad Boat and CB Industries at Millbridge, so we'll be referencing that a little bit today. So let's
And good
hop right on
success
into it.
in GR Cup.
That's right. Forgot about that. But without further
We've
ado,
had some,
let's hop.
yeah, let's rock and roll with it.
Let's go.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Jackson.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. You guys able to hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can hear you good.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Well, Jackson,
Want
we
to go ahead
want
and
to
get started,
thank you
Jordan?
for, yeah, I'll go ahead. Well, Jackson, we want to first thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, obviously, with you and your career, and then obviously with your dad being Townsend, everyone knows the last name Bell, so they all love that whole entire family of racing. So let's go ahead and get it started. Obviously, we kind of know the background of what your racing career started, but kind of tell everyone for those who don't really know.
Yeah, I got a late start in racing. I didn't start racing until I was out of high school, which is pretty unusual for kids nowadays who have the early karting career. But I basically had a normal childhood. Never raced go karts as a kid. Played football, baseball, basketball growing up. And it wasn't until after I graduated high school where I kind of didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and obviously loved racing because of my father and what he had as a career. So moved to North Carolina to just work in racing. I wanted to be involved in the sport at some level. I had no aspiration of driving at that time, and ended up working for a NASCAR truck team called Hattori Motorsports, which was
Okay.
Shigeaki Hattori. The late Shigeaki Hattori owned that NASCAR team, and he gave me, my first opportunity to kind of get my feet in the door in motorsports. Um, and then from there, I quickly realized that I didn't want to be, a tire guy or sweeping the floors and doing the dirty work. I wanted to actually, see if I had any talent behind the wheel and give it a shot. So me and my dad went to a Skip Barber racing school, and had flashes of talent and ability at that school, and kind of did well enough and proved to a few people that maybe there was an opportunity at doing this. So we were able to find some money to raise and go run a few races in the Skip Our Racing School, and then from there I kind of progressed with success to move myself up the ladder.
Awesome. That's really cool how, me and Jordan, we were both go-karters and I started at 8 and Jordan, you were about that same time. And
Oh
both of
yeah,
us kind
around
of had to,
7 or 8.
yeah, both of us kind of get out of it because the karting now, the money you got to put in is so much more than what it was when I started. And it's amazing, the money going in, but you know, you started open wheel kind of like your father. What was that kind of like starting an open wheel, just jumping straight into a car of that, F4 car?
Yeah, I loved it. While I wasn't racing in high school, I was racing on the simulator a lot. I had like a Logitech G29 wheel, and I was racing on like a Mac desktop, like a super kind of janky sim, but just I feel like I learned so much about car control and just the basic fundamentals and techniques of driving a race car that when I actually got into a Formula car, it wasn't like it didn't feel super foreign and didn't feel like it was, I was out of my comfort zone. But I loved racing that car. Yeah, I ran the F4 car in Skip Barber, and it was super fun. Learned a lot. That was also, such a uh, low stress, and everyone was just there to learn and have a good time, and made it a lot of fun, and made a bunch of friends, and raced against a few really good drivers, including Sebastian Weldon, who's racing from the regional stuff in Europe right now. So, yeah, I had a blast. It was super cool.
Right, and like you say, obviously your dad having his racing background, how beneficial has that been for you having your dad as that backup to kind of coach and lead you through?
Yeah, it's huge. I think any driver with a father who raced cars, naturally has an advantage of having someone to lean on for advice and whatnot. It's always a funny dynamic. Like, even though my dad has had so much success, and I'm sure other drivers with the same situation would say the same, that it's something about listening to your father tell you what to do is not always the way you want to hear it. But he always has a ton of great advice, and really um, is super helpful with the stuff off the track as well, which I think is the biggest uh, advantage that I have with a father like that.
Obviously, you started in F4, and then you made your way to GR Cup. Talk about what that was like. Maybe was the path in open wheel maybe not as clear as going into sports cars and open so many doors like it is now?
Yeah, it was for sure tougher to find the sponsorship and find the budget to go continue racing on the open wheel ladder. Um, Luckily, Toyota was starting the Toyota GR Cup series, and that kind of pathway and ladder that they had, starting a GR Cup, and if you had success in GR Cup, then there'd be a ladder to move up into GT4 and GT3 machinery. So I think that was what was super inviting and super um, just more of a clear cut, path to a professional career as opposed to trying to work your way up the open wheel ladder.
Right, and like you say, obviously last year towards the end of the year, you participated in the last three races of the NPC season with Copeland Motorsports, who you're currently with now. How was that experience, first of all, getting started with them and to where it's gotten you to now?
Yeah, that experience was huge. I think our plan really was just to run the full season this year in 26, but we added those last three races in 25 to kind of I guess work out all the kinks, driving stuff, team stuff, to make sure that we hit the ground running in 26 to be competitive and run up front. So those three races at the end of the year were massive, really for me to understand the GT4 car and understand, racing 2 hour races, which I've never done in my life, in my career. And so, yeah, those three races were huge. And, we had success at Road Atlanta when we finished second, which was awesome to, kind of carry momentum into 2026. So, yeah, massive learning experience and huge tool to be able to run those last three races of last year.
You did 3 seasons of GR Cup and had a lot of success. Was it a pretty seamless transition from the GR Cup to the GT4, or was it a little different drive way you drive it?
It was, yeah, I feel like the difference couldn't have been bigger in the sense that just the way you have to drive the GR Cup car to get the most out of it is completely different than the Toyota Supra. The Supra kind of brings me back to more so the Formula 4 days and Skip Barber, where um, the Supra really likes to be hustled and driven extremely hard to get the most out of it, similar to an open wheel car, and not similar to the GR Cup car, which really rewarded being super smooth and precise and very detailed with your inputs. And um, some of that applies to the GT4 car, but the GT4 car really likes to kind of have its neck wrung and be driven really really hard.
Right, and like you say, obviously, kind of backtracking to last year a little bit as well. We saw you do a little bit more multidiscipline stuff. You ran a couple races at Millbridge with CB Industries. How was that experience with the dirt side of it? Because I'm a dirt guy personally, so I loved seeing that.
Yeah, that was wild. Being a part of the Toyota program the past 2 years, those doors have kind of been opened to kind of try different things outside of what I usually do. So running dirt at Millbridge was nuts. I got my butt kicked by Owen Larson a few weeks ago. He was like a 9-year-old kid, which was pretty humbling experience. But it was super fun. It's certainly a wild and super raw discipline of motorsports, but I loved it. You don't really have time to think or adapt. Like in the GT4 car going down the back straightaway in Mid Ohio, you got about 10 seconds to kind of think about what's going on and prepare for the next brake zone. But in the micro sprint at Millbridge, it's all instinctive. You're not thinking about anything. You're just reacting. So I think that's super cool.
I
Right, and
like
that's how
seeing
it kind
people.
of was with me with dirt racing and stuff too. Because I mean, I raced the dirt go karts at like your Maxxis tire oval stuff. So I mean, that's all it was react to whatever the person did in front of you. You give them the bumper and get them out the way if you need to, and that's how we rolled.
Yeah, exactly.
I like seeing people, wanting to, do more multidiscipline stuff, not just stick to one thing. I think you see that so much now in the professional world of racing that people want to stick to just one series and run with that their whole career. And, you find little niches that, make you better in other series.
Yeah, 100%. I think, racing at Millbridge and the micro sprint, it really it teaches you, like I said, to drive off instincts and just react and not think so much about what you're doing. Like get back in the GT4 car, and it's quite easy to get back in the rhythm of things after driving that micro sprint because everything comes at you so quick, and you have to just be ready for anything. And you get in the GT4 car, and everything kind of slows down, and you have time to process things. And so I think it's a huge advantage, for the guys that do run dirt, like Kyle Larson or Christopher Bell, that started on dirt. Like all those guys get into the pavement stuff and seem to adapt really, really well.
Let's talk about last week. Fifth place run at Mid Ohio, the second 4 hour race of the year, and had a new teammate with you, Jeremy Fletcher. Can I talk about how the weekend was from you as the perspective as the team and getting to grips with having another new driver in the car with you?
Yeah, I think the weekend overall was probably our smoothest weekend of the year. We had some, I feel like we've had speed every race we've gone to, but really haven't been able to, convert it into the result that maybe our pace deserves. So, yeah, it was great to have Jeremy in the car and have another perspective on just building our program and seeing what he can do. Um, on the race side, it felt like it was pretty straightforward. Ford qualified us up front and always does a good job in qualifying and especially the race and his stint, just keeping the car clean and keeping us up front in contention for when I get in the car. Got a little off strategy in the second stint or my second stop when we took just left side tires to get track position, which was a great call by Dean and the guys in the pits. And kind of got, was running second and kind of got shuffled back at one point by a pretty aggressive move. But overall, I think it was a good day, and certainly wanted to be up on the box, but we'll take the fifth place points, especially after kind of a tough start to the season.
Right, and obviously, like you say, the rough start to the season. There's been mechanical issues, you name it, incidents happen on track and all of that. But kind of how's that set the mindset for a turnaround from this weekend and how y'all can propel and go forward and just continue to go fighting for a championship?
Yeah, I think it's just you got to put what happened behind you. Like at Daytona, uh, just got unlucky and got checked up and ran into the back of another car, and that wasn't big enough hit to puncture a hole in the radiator and end our race. And Sebring, we were running really well and had an issue leaving the box in the pits, and that probably took us out of podium contention. And then Laguna just had an unfortunate incident with two cut down tires and then damage trying to get back to the pit box. So we've done a good job of kind of coming out or overcoming adversity and putting all the bad stuff behind us and showing up and we know we're fast. We know we have the the car and the driver lineup to go out there and win races, but we just got to keep showing up and keep doing our thing, and I think the results will come.
How has the transition been? Just this first half of the year has been learning a lot of tracks for you, places you haven't been and places you have been. So just getting to grips, you know, and then the multi-class aspect. How have you feel that you've come to grips with that side of the series?
Yeah, I feel like we've done a good job. I have so many resources being at a manufacturer like Toyota, where I can use simulators and study data and study video, and just feel super prepared showing up to the race. We only have, it sounds like a lot of track time, but 2 1 hour sessions between two drivers is tough when you're showing up and trying to work on a whole bunch of different things and learn the track and get up to speed. So I think we've done a really good job, and it's pretty unique, and probably not a situation I'll be in later in my career where I'm showing up to a track for the first time and having to learn it. And I think like Mid Ohio, Watkins Glen, Mo Sport, and a few others. I'm sure a few tracks I haven't been to. So I'm just enjoying kind of showing up to a new track and seeing what they're like, and going out there and pushing to the limit.
Right, and
Has
like you
the
say,
opportunity to test days helped a lot too?
Yeah, 100%. Like before Mid Ohio, we had a 2 day test there, which was massive in understanding car balance and tire fall off, and also just me and Ford learning the track for the first time. So yeah, that's always a huge help.
right. And speaking of Ford and the entire Copeland Motorsports team, with you being at such a great team, in our opinion, how would you kind of say, like, based off the way the team is ran and everything from our perspective and all that, with your perspective as the driver, how would you say like the morale is and all that for the team and the environment?
Yeah, the nice thing about Copeland Motorsports is they have a winning history, and so their expectation is nothing less than to go out there, win races, and win a championship. So there's a lot of pressure on drivers to go out there and perform, but is pressure that as a driver you want, right? Because what we're capable of, and the equipment that you have, and the people that you have working around you. So the expectations are high, and I wouldn't want anything less from a race team.
Last year did 3 races with the team and showed a lot of speed. And this year there's been a lot of speed going forward. Does that give you a lot of hope coming into somebody, especially the last 3 events that you were at last year? Obviously, Indy, VIR, and Road Atlanta. Do y'all really have those races circled on the map as races that, last year we saw us up front and we can probably contend for the podium or maybe to win for those last 3 events of the year?
Yeah, 100%. Especially Road Atlanta. I think our car performs really well around there. We seem to be really good at the technical and kind of tighter tracks that we go to. Um, so yeah, I think the last 3 races gave us a lot of confidence, and also kind of the speed that we showed up to the first 4 events this year is also give us confidence that we can even show up to these new tracks and still be fighting for podiums and fighting for race wins.
Right, and like you say, obviously going towards like your future plans here. Is the plan to like be in GT3 or go to GTP eventually, or do you just see yourself in the GT4 for the next 3 4 years or so?
Yeah, really wherever the opportunity leads. Obviously, the goal right now is to win a championship in GT4. Anywhere that I'm racing, I want to make sure that I'm maximizing the opportunity. And so right now, that is want to win a championship, whether it's we claw our way back in the points this year and win a bunch of races, or we go back and fight for a championship next year. I think the goal is always to win, and whether that's racing micro sprints at Millbridge or racing Xfinity cars or racing GT4, you want to be in a situation where you can win. So that's the goal. I think my dream, I'd love to race the Daytona 24, Le Mans 24 with my father, or really anyone. But I think it'd be super cool to race with my dad. So that's like the dream, but the goal is to be successful at what I'm doing now.
How awesome is it to be part of, the Toyota factory family of drivers that, that they're a brand that puts so much into their racing side, not just their road car side, that they're invested in NASCAR, IMSA, WEC, you name it, they're invested in it. And how well is that? you see opening doors for you to go maybe dabble in some other series, kind of like you've done this year and last year with the micro stuff?
Yeah, it's been, massive. Just, having those resources. I'm, working out, using simulators and using all of their different specialists that they have in that facility here in Mooresville. Uh, so, and just the people I'm around, like I'm around so many great drivers, in this program from the NASCAR side, Brent Cruz and uh, Eric Jones or whoever that, is also in that facility. Just being around their presence, I think elevates everyone who's in that program. So, that's massive, and 100%, just being in the Toyota camp, I think for sure opens up more doors to different, disciplines of racing that they're involved in.
It's really cool there. I like seeing, like I said, people wanting to dabble and stuff. And would you like to maybe do some, other stuff that Toyota's in? Maybe say like mention Xfinity or something like that.
Yeah, 100%. I tested a Trans Am TA2 car last year with Nitro Motorsports, which was super cool, which is close to kind of what an Xfinity car drives like on a road course. So I got a little taste of that. And, my favorite drivers are, Scott McLaughlin and SVG, who, have come from different backgrounds of racing and ended up on, other sides of the spectrum. So, my goal as a kid was always to race at the Indy 500. So guys like Scotty Mack and SVG who come from different disciplines, and Scotty Mack started in supercars and now racing IndyCar, gives guys like me hope that that's still a possibility down the road. So yeah, I think any racing driver should always have their eyes open and be open to ideas of racing different disciplines.
Right,
I
and
like
like you
that. That's
say,
really cool.
right, like you say, would you test in the TA2 last year? A good friend of ours, Thomas Nunziata, he drove the TA2 for Nitro last year as well, and we saw him win at Lime Rock in the ARCA Car Series. So, I mean, I guess you kind of say with him being a part of that TRD stuff as well, you could also kind of gain knowledge from him whenever y'all are in the factory together or just learning in general for tracks, and he can teach you some things about one track and you can teach him some about another.
Yeah, that's the thing about Toyota is it's a big family and like a massive open book. Like a perfect example of that is Jack Hawksworth, who races with Lexus, which is also under the Toyota camp. He's been doing a lot of coaching with Brent Cruz and Christopher Bell and all the Xfinity and Cup guys on the road courses to help improve their game. And obviously, we've seen the result of that, and Brent running really well, and Gio Ruggiero running really well on road courses. And
Right.
so yeah, there's so many different people that if I ran a truck with Tricon on an oval tomorrow, I'd be pretty well prepared, just with all the people that I could talk to and all the experience that I can kind of gather.
Really neat there. Obviously, Toyota's got a great program there, and it leaves you in a good standing, wherever it takes you in your career. And I think this year's really showed that, what y'all been able to do. You look back at your 3 seasons in GR Cup and a lot of wins and podiums there, and now in the Pilot Challenge, I think the transition is starting to really flow into fruition there. It took form last year, and as we look towards Watkins Glen, what's a new track for you? How have the preparation has been for that?
Yeah, it's preparation always starts, the day after the last race. So I've already been, watching back races and onboard video from last year, and been on the sim, ripping laps, and just doing everything I can to make sure that we show up there, and we're just as competitive as we've been. So we have a test coming up next week, actually a week from today. So it'll be a 2-day test at Watkins Glen to really get prepared, and another track that I haven't driven, Ford hasn't driven. So that'll give us a great opportunity to kind of get comfortable before we go for practice on the race weekend. So I'm looking forward to it. It's, super. I've been to Watkins Glen many times, but haven't actually driven such a beautiful area and such a cool track, and just super fast and flowy, and so much history there. So I'm really looking forward to racing at Watkins Glen.
Right, and like you say,
Awesome.
obviously, we want to thank you for joining us today and all that. And it's been a pleasure to have you on.
Absolutely.
Wyman, do you have one more question?
Yeah, you and Ford kind of new coming into Pilot Challenge this year. How has it been, just the flow of getting used to driving, the two driver lineup and sometimes three, just, this transition of getting used to how Ford likes the car and how you like the car?
Yeah, it's been seamless, really. Me and Ford were teammates in GR Cup, so we worked together for quite a while. Ford also, I wouldn't consider him, and he wouldn't consider himself, a am or second driver. He's shown speed to where he's just as fast as all the pros out there as well. So nice thing is we're super close on pace, and he likes the car just the way I do, which is free and tough to drive but fast. So we work well together.
Awesome. Well, like Jordan said, Jackson, really want to thank you for coming on, and it's been great talking with you at some of the at Daytona and Sebring this year, and I know we'll be at Road Atlanta October for Petite, and so we'll hope to catch back up and shoot some more stuff with you.
Sweet. Thanks for having me on, guys. Look forward
Yeah,
to seeing you
absolutely.
again.
Yeah, of course.